So, Tom, what did you think of episode 2 of season 3 of The Mandalorian?
First watch, I really enjoyed it, and I thought maybe it's the best episode out of the two so far. Second watch, there's a few cracks there, mainly in production for me. What about yourself?
I really enjoyed it. I liked the change of pace. I thought it was a lot slower this time. We're sort of mainly staying in one place after they'd sort of set the mission. A couple of things that kind of bugged me from like the previous episode before, but apart from that, I really enjoyed it. I think it was absolutely solid. Although it did crap on all of the things we suggested in the first episode.
I didn't think it totally annihilated them, but it went in a different direction than I expected.
Well, yeah, because I thought I said all that towards the end. I thought the season was going to end with with the boat stuff and going to Mandalore, but no, they're like, nope, here it is.
When I saw like the opening title card, The Mines of Mandalore, I was thinking, is it going to end and they see the entrance to the mines? It's like, no, we're going straight down, deep as we can, and get into the mines. We ain't got zero time to waste this year. I was like, damn.
Yeah, it makes you wonder where it's going. So, Tom, what did you like about this episode then?
I really enjoyed the creepy atmosphere. This Mandalore does feel like a dead civilization. It looked ruinous and it was scary. Like, I jumped twice in this episode. The first one almost, I was like, oh, a proper jump, because I was watching this at 12 o'clock midnight my time. And so it got a few jump scares from me. Yourself, did you find the atmosphere like creepy at all, or?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved the tension. I think this was a really nice sort of tense episode, and it had a really good feel to it. Yeah, those weird, creepy creature things. It like you say, like there was just an atmosphere to being on Mandalore. It felt desolate, and it was nice to see it. And it was nice to actually see, like in a lot of sort of Star Wars lore, you sort of see these planets that have been bombed, and you can still sort of see the buildings still standing up and stuff. That it's not been like utterly decimated, whereas with this it's like, no, the Empire glassed that planet. When they said they purged it and they glassed the planet, they literally had turned the planet into green glass. So I agree with you. It had such a great atmosphere.
Did you jump?
I didn't jump, but then again, I didn't watch it at 12 o'clock at night. I watched it the following morning, so...
I just didn't expect this robot thing to grab him. I was like, oh, whoa, what was that? My girlfriend didn't jump either, because I watched it twice, and the first time I watched it on my own, and then I rewatched it the second time with my girlfriend, and that's when I kind of like make the mental notes of what I liked or what I didn't like throughout the episode. And it was that point that really got me, and I think it felt fresh for Star Wars, because you don't usually get these episodes that it's not quite a horror film, but it had those kind of tappings.
It has the connotations, doesn't it? It has this episode. It certainly had like the connotations of a horror film,
where it's really dark, it's moody, you can barely see anything, and there's just things lurking in the shadows. Even the villain.
See, that's why I didn't jump, actually, pal, because they'd set the atmosphere up so well. I was the whole time I was watching the episode, I was like, something is gonna jump out of somewhere. Just because of how they'd set it up.
Jump scares in Star Wars was never something I thought I'd put in the same sentence. So I was very disarmed, so to speak.
Thing that I really liked, and this was the first sort of time I'd seen it this episode, throughout the whole series, was Grogu actually becoming more of a character and less of a pet.
Yeah.
So actually being allowed to do stuff on his own and actually sort of having an active impact on the story instead of sort of passively reacting to it, if that makes sense. Like, for me, this was the first episode where Grogu actually felt like a character, and not Mando's cute little son and cute little pet that he sort of just keeps at his side. Like, Grogu has had like impact on the story. I'm not saying he's just in the background, but I mean, he took the initiative in this episode.
Staying on the topic of Grogu, last week we didn't speak about this, and I didn't realize until just before the recording or afterwards, it's one of them, that apparently, how long do you think Grogu was with Luke Skywalker?
Probably a few, at most a few weeks, maybe a couple of months actually.
2 years.
2 years.
Apparently, it's 2 years, and I was like, what the hell?
Oh, that makes what I didn't like about this episode even worse now. Yeah, that's mad. I genuinely thought it was 2 weeks may have been underselling it, but like maybe a couple of months.
Yeah, like 2 years? I thought the timeline of this show is all over the shop. Because someone said, well, how do you think they built Navarro? And I was like, yeah, but Navarro looked like it was on the upswing already in season 2, so it just felt like a natural progression. Whilst the fact Mando and Grogu were separate for 2 years just felt so... I didn't feel like that sense of time had passed.
No, definitely, like, yeah, that you've got me there, yeah. I genuinely, a couple of months for me at most.
It felt like he gave it a shot with Luke and decided, nope, this isn't for me, I'm off. But 2 years, I was like, bloody heck, you both could have saved yourselves some time. So imagine that, 2 years into training, and Luke's like, if you choose the lightsaber, you will be my first student. I was like, what's he been doing for 2 years, mate?
Oh, we'll give them a pass. We'll let them have a pass. It's Star Wars, isn't it? They're not continuity snobs.
One thing I want to speak about Grogu though is, and I don't think they get enough credit, is just how great the VFX or the practical puppeteering is for Grogu. The little touches, like his ears flapping as they're descending further into Mandalore, the little expressions, like him jumping might look a bit goofy, but I just let that slide.
Yeah. I'd let that slide. I like his expressions. It's his facial expressions where I sit and like, I can't believe it's a puppet. When he jumps, when he moves and he walks, I can kind of see it. But when he's just still and he's just doing his little subtle movements, I believe he's real.
But even when he walks, sometimes it can be a CGI design. Like if you look at IG-11, when he moves, they animate him specifically to look like a stop motion figure. Like the way he moves has that clunky design and looks like a stop motion VFX, but it's done specifically to harken back to it. And that's how I feel about with Grogu's movements. When he moves, it's like, oh, he's a puppet. But then you think, is he CGI to move like a puppet in some regards? To try and keep up with that. But I just think the Grogu stuff is really great, and I don't think it gets enough credit. He probably elicits the most emotion out of the audience per episode, and it's not an actor.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I think it's how people around him sort of respond to him. Like, obviously, Mando himself and like all the other characters. It's the way they treat him. It just sells you. Like that, and that I have to give. Like Pedro Pascal sometimes gets put through the ringer as an actor, and I just think sometimes that it's undeserved.
Does he?
Like he can. Yeah, I've read bits and bobs where I suppose it's older stuff though, you know, like before. This is sort of pre Game of Thrones. He was in a few films, and
okay.
Yeah, and apparently he couldn't act according to some of the reviews. But yeah, he for me is the one who sells it. Like when he said goodbye to Grogu in season 2. It's like I had to really think about it afterwards that he gave that heartbreaking performance to an inanimate object. It was.
That's a good point. I was going to say, in returns to Pedro, he's the talk of the town in recent weeks. It's bloody Pedro season. HBO's Last of Us, The Mandalorian going on, and it really kickstarted with the Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I love him. Mate. I love him. I think he's great. He's really charismatic, and in this role of Mando, he's great. Like it's a lot of people don't realize, like say with Darth Vader, people don't realize how difficult it is when you're wearing a mask to act and emote, because all you can do to act and emote is use your body language. And with Mando, it's just little things, little twitches of his hand, a little turn of his head, and it just conveys so much than someone, yabbering on every 2 seconds. So yeah, I liked that about Grogu. I really like the fact that he's starting to sort of become a character.
Yeah.
He's always been a character, but more of a character instead of a pet, because that's kind of how I feel he sometimes gets seen. He's Mando's cute pet.
Well, he's a lot more of an active participant. It used to be he could do one trick and he's going for a nap, but in today's episode, he did a few things. He tried to help Mando out the cage. He pushed that creature back, like the humanoid thing that tried to block his path on the way to the ship. And he got Bo-Katan. Like, he did 3 big moves where I was thinking, oh, is he going for a nap soon? Nope. It's like, oh, he's actually quite capable now.
What else did you like, Tom? I liked the mythosaur. Just that little moment towards the end, those couple of seconds where this beast that you keep hearing this armorer talk about in legend, and then we get to see it for just a split second.
I was having like an existential crisis when I first saw that thing, because
it was very Lovecraftian, wasn't it?
Exactly, because you did that script about the Lovecraftian creatures. That's straight away what I thought of when I saw this thing. It's like, bloody heck. I also rewatched Solo the other day, and they had that creature near like the black hole or whatever. And I was like, oh wow, that's got a bit of that vibe too. But back to the mythosaur. When I saw it, I thought, damn, that's a big thing. Good luck. Don't get eaten.
What did you like, Tom? Is there anything else you liked that?
It felt like it was a nod to Mad Max with the whole blood transfusion. Have you seen Fury Road?
Yeah. I've seen it. There was a lot of that. Yeah, there was a lot of that sort of dystopian, not body horror, because it's not like body horror, but like just subtly sort of hinting at that. That's kind of how Mandalore on the whole sort of felt to me. I mean, we see it a little bit in Rebels, that sort of nomadic, sort of Mad Max tribes vibe with the Mandalorians, but here on Mandalore it felt like, I would say it felt a little bit more like Fallout, where you've got like mutants roaming around, and it truly is the end of the world.
That's the thing with the monster. I was calling him like, he reminded me of Robo-Maul from the Clone Wars. When you first see him, he's a bit insane and he's got like the spider body. It reminded me of that.
It reminded me of General Grievous. That's because I thought when I saw the appendages, I was like, is that actually, we're gonna get Maul coming back again, and he's rebuilt like General Grievous or something like that. Like Kenobi buried him, but he pulled himself out yet again. The appendages really like proper like put me in mind of General Grievous when I saw it.
If you remember Mad Max Fury Road, you've got the pups, the boys, I can't remember their names, and they have to stick Max with like the needle to drain his blood, and that's the same vibe I got of that creature sticking Mando, because he was sticking him with the needle to drain his blood. I was just thinking of Mad Max. I was like, oh, I wanted to know what on earth this blood's for, why it needs his blood.
I wanted to know what the thing was.
Yeah, it's like, what's the deal with this thing that he needs to like drain blood and he's just living there?
Yeah, it's some sort of weird, creepy cyborg thing, and like it's obviously feeding off of Mandalorians, because like maybe I'd have to rewatch it again, but I'm sure there's a big pile of like Mandalorian armor indicating that he's maybe captured and killed more Mandalorians that have like made the pilgrimage.
That would make sense, especially considering he used the helmet as like a bait. But how often is that happening for him to spend time lying in wait? But otherwise, I think that was most of my notes.
I like the score again. That's something else I like. I always think Goranson just always delivers with the score. Apart from Dubstep Troopers, he's always cock on the money for me.
I did like the reintroduction of Bo-Katan's theme. You hear it for the first time when Mando teams up with them to take down the Imperial cruiser or to capture it. Episode 3 of season 2, when that happens, and you hear that theme and it plays again when she's on screen. I was like, okay, that is now the Bo-Katan theme. That's pretty much all the stuff we liked.
Okay, what I didn't like the fact that the IG-11 thing has just, for all intents and purposes for the moment, just been scrapped. I felt like a lot of time was wasted on that in the first episode. And for them to just sort of say at the beginning of this one, oh yeah, just take this droid instead, it's fine. Why would he go all the way purposely to Navarro and insist on that specific droid? Which, it's an IG unit, it's a very advanced droid, so you must need an advanced droid for wherever he's going. And they, no, just out the window, you can go to Mandalore with any old droid. I did not like that. What's your thoughts on that, Tom?
Well, if you keep on that train of thought, why did he even need to go to Tatooine? Because he went to Tatooine asking for the circuit board. He was like, nope, don't have one. I'll have the Jawas look for one. But if you need a droid, here's one. I was thinking, well, he could have just done that in Navarro, because even Grief Karga was like, hey, if you need a droid, here's a droid for you.
We know the writing reason. It's Peli, innit? Like, I don't get me wrong. I love Peli as a character. I think she's great. But yeah, it was just to shove her in, weren't it? Really?
Yeah, it was cool to see the Bunta Eve, whatever it was, the racing.
Yeah,
turning the town crazy.
That's Filoni. We'll take this one line from the prequels and we're going to make it a big thing.
Speaking of Filoni, one thing I wasn't super keen on, because it felt too in my face, they kept mentioning Bo-Katan. I haven't heard Bo-Katan's name spoken so much until this episode. It was like, that's where Bo-Katan lives. Bo-Katan used to live here. Bo-Katan's family used to rule here. Go get Bo-Katan. I was like, bloody heck, there's only one person in the galaxy to Mando, it's Bo-Katan. And I don't mind it, but it just felt so obviously shoehorned in. And in terms of the dialogue, you're obviously having to cater to an audience who probably hasn't seen the Clone Wars. But it just felt pretty jarring having Bo-Katan be like, oh yeah, my people owned this place before the Empire destroyed it. I was the princess here. I did this. And it works because she's telling Grogu the story. But it just felt very unnatural to me.
Yeah, exposition dump.
What was probably the silliest line, and it might be a bit nitpicky, but it's just so, what on earth are we doing? Was when she turns to Grogu and she's like, you didn't think your dad was the only Mandalorian? And I was thinking, of course he doesn't, because he's seen you before and you've saved him.
He's seen the armorer as well. He's seen the armorer, and in season 1 they had that big gunfight to get him away from Navarro, where he was saved by the Mandalorians, you know.
And it was just one of those things where it's like, that's a cool trailer line, but it's bloody stupid in context.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, but otherwise, I did enjoy Bo-Katan doing her thing and wielding the dark saber.
See, this is where I have my problem. This is my second thing I didn't like, but that's it. I only have two things, and it was, now that I know as well that there has been 2 years past, like Din's flimsiness and his sort of clumsiness and incompetence with fighting, like that stuff was really cool in season 1. You know, like he's still got to learn the ropes, and well, probably does know the ropes, but we need to see him fall down to watch him get back up. We're at season 3 now. He shouldn't be getting knocked on his arse all the time and getting captured and getting knocked about to the degree that he is. I kind of want to see him be a little bit more like Boba now, and a little bit more like how Bo was when she fought the droid.
Yeah.
I know why they do it. They do it to make him very human and very everyman and relatable. But we've had 3 seasons now. We need to see him stepping up a bit more for me. Like every action scene he's in, he's getting knocked around, and you know he's really struggling and quite desperate and frantic. And I don't like it when you've got characters like the Armorer and Bo-Katan and these other Mandalorians who are like flipping around and diving and rolling and, you know, fighting with all this finesse. It just makes Din look like a really
donkey.
Like an unworthy runt.
He is, because by the episode's end, first time I thought he got grabbed. Second time, it looks like he just fell. And I was thinking, what a donkey. This guy is useless. He gets captured. He finally goes in the waters and manages to bloody fall down.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
the way he fell, that whole end sequence, it looked cool, but I didn't understand what on earth was happening because he sank like a rock.
Yeah.
Bo didn't take long to jump after him, and she was using her jetpack to go faster, and she still didn't catch up to him. She only caught up to him when he is rock bottom on the floor. And I was thinking, I don't understand this. I didn't realize Beskar weighed that much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, didn't take his jetpack off.
Yeah.
I think he did, didn't he?
He
Yeah,
did.
yeah, he took it off. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I was just thinking, I couldn't remember if he took it off or not. I was like, why didn't he just shoot himself out? But yeah, if he took it off, that's fine. But yeah, that's my big gripe with this episode. I think I didn't. That was the main thing I didn't like. I did not like the way everyone around Din is super competent, but he kind of comes. He's just coming across as clumsy and unworthy now. Like we've had the time with him now. We should be seeing him be a bit more. I mean, he is badass. He does handle himself well in fights and things, but there's a desperation to him that I don't see with a lot of the other characters, and I'm starting to not like it. It's almost like he's not learning from his mistakes, if that makes sense.
Even Grogu was more useful this episode.
Yeah.
If you had to weigh up, like, who was the MVPs of this episode, you'd start at the top. It's Bo-Katan, because she handles business. Then it goes to Grogu, who manages to not break sweat and gets in and out pretty fast, gets Bo to save him. And then it's probably the Spider Droid, because even the Spider Droid put up a good fight.
Yeah.
And then you'd go to Donkey Din, because he got mollywopped and managed. He barely. Bo-Katan swinging this Darksaber around with one hand, and Din, he can barely hold it with two, and it looks like it weighs a ton. And I can't remember what rubbish the armorer was sprouting about, like being able to wield the blade, but
yeah, I mean, like, if you're going with like the sort of I suppose the lore of the universe, like Din won that saber fair and square. It should listen to him, like the crystal inside it and stuff should kind of listen to him. But now that you've said that 2 years have passed, but between season 2 and season 3, like, yeah, he's got no excuse for not being able to swing that thing around now, and to look good while doing it.
And I don't even understand why Bo gave it him back.
Yeah, I mean, she kind of. Well, see. This is if we're done with what we didn't like about the episode. Have you got any thoughts on what you didn't like, and then we'll go into where we think it's going?
So, my notes were the way Mando fell at the end, some of the expositionary dialogue, and I wonder what IG-11 is going to do now. Because, like you said, with how fast they did it, I was thinking, well, what is the point of IG-11?
Yeah.
And I said last week, maybe it's just there to get him from A to B to go somewhere else. But if that go to somewhere else to go grab a new droid, then I thought, well, you could have just done that in episode 1. So it seems to be the pirates are going to be a big deal, I would assume. That's the reason for going to Navarro.
So should we go into where we're going then? Where we think it's going? Yeah. Okay, I still think this fight's going to happen between Din and Bo. I definitely think that's still on the cards. But I think you were right when you said she needs that audience. She needs other Mandalorians to see her take it.
Well,
there's this thing though, like she looks at him with quite a lot of contempt. Like there's never a moment where it looks like she's been friendly with him. And part of me thinks, like, tinfoil hat on now, I think she saved him just so she could challenge him, because if she obviously just took the saber and showed up with it, she's already had this saber, hasn't she, according to the lore. I think it was in Rebels she got it back.
Sabine gave it to her.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, I think she needs people to see her win it, and that's one of the only reasons I think she went in to save Din. It's like, no, I need you alive so that I can kill you later myself.
To be fair, if she was to lose to Din, she'll probably just jump off a cliff, because she's like, I saw this guy sink like a rock. He is a dumbass. Like, I can't lose to this pleb. He is the Homer Simpson of the Mandalorian, where he wins because his opponents get tired of beating his ass. It's like, without that Beskar armor, he's useless, because that Beskar armor saves him so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think that's gonna happen. I'm starting to think now that the pirate plot is the big one for the end of the season, because it's been we predicted in the first episode, it's going to end on Mandalore and there's going to be this epic showdown and he's going to go to the mines and bathe in the water. No, we've got that out of the way now. So I'm thinking it's definitely going to be not definitely, but I'm thinking it's the pirate plot. I can't see where else this goes now.
I think it's all about a show, isn't it? So, with the mythosaur there, what are they going to do about it? Could it be that to tame it, they want all the Mandalorians there? I'm not sure how taming it works, because I know Bo-Katan reads like that spiel before he goes and takes a bath. He's saying like, oh, taming the mythosaur or whatever like that. We see these Mandalorians in there kind of get in trouble with big old monsters, like the opening episode with the killer crocodile. I feel like there's something going to happen with the mythosaur, obviously, but how is it going to happen? Because if it's all about making a showcase about it, bathing in the waters of Mandalore, like, you'd want all the Mandalorians there to see it. And if they're there to see it, you're going to have two factions. You're going to have the diehards, which is the armorer, and then you're going to have Bo-Katan's homies who kind of ditched her. So if they're going to converge on this point, what will be the point of it?
That's interesting, actually, because you're also going to get conflict, because the armorer is like hyper religious, isn't she? And Bo-Katan's a bit more like a mercenary. She still keeps to like the code and stuff, but not in the way that the armor and Din do. Not even close.
I like how there's that kind of royal snobbery about it, where she was like, oh yeah, it's from the royal family, like we knew about certain things, but we just didn't keep to it like that detailed. We wasn't that strict about it. We just had to do certain things for like the commoners. So I will be intrigued. It could be that this episode 3, they don't deal with the mythosaur. It's just about, okay, we need to go get a gang of us because this thing's huge. And we need to lure it out maybe. But then I think Grogu might play a part, because his ability from season 1 to season 3 is being able to tame creatures, because he tamed that rhino thing.
Yep, tamed a rancor.
And the rancor leading up to the mythosaur. I even joked with a few people that Grogu tames the mythosaur and becomes the Mandalore. And they're all going to be like, are we really going to follow the creed that strictly?
Well, they have to. That's the thing, they have to. If Grogu does that and takes the dark saber,
it's like,
maybe he's just watching Din, like maybe he's just planning his moment. He doesn't see him as a father figure at all. He sees him as a stepping stone. Maybe he's just waiting for his moment.
He's the one who drowned Din. He pushed him into the water. It's going to be like this epic flashback of all of Din's problems and what Grogu's done.
Little subtle hand movements, but using the Force.
Have you got any other thoughts on this episode?
No, that's all I can really say about it. Like, the only thing for me is I don't know where it can go now. Apart from the pirates, we know the pirates has been set up, and I don't know what they're gonna do about that mythosaur. I don't even know if it was that big a deal, or if it's just one of those nice little Filoni and Favreau respecting the lore moments.
Well, look, the way I see it, you'll have an episode where maybe Gideon will show back up, because they name dropped Gideon and Cara Dune in the previous episode. I feel like he is coming back at some point. I don't know what his appearance will be, but he's short. For hyperspace whales, we didn't even speak about them. and their importance to Ezra and Thrawn.
Yeah.
Maybe those will show up as well. I think there's a lot in play, but I don't think they'll get this Mandalorian storyline zipped up that fast.
Yeah, I think the Space Whales, I'll be honest, I think it's just to tie, to the Ahsoka show.
Yeah.
Just to keep everything tied together. And, like, I know you have your gripes with Filoni, and I do too, to be honest. I'm not always fond of his decisions, but one thing I do like about him is he always tries to tie everything together, and he does respect the law. So I think the whales are just there more to tie it to the Ahsoka show.
My problem, and I'll speak about it briefly, is it feels like he plays favorites.
Mm-hmm.
His characters kick ass. Yep. Yeah. So Ahsoka, Bo-Katan, they just kind of come in and kind of steal the show, so to speak. It just, I don't mind it, but it does feel off to me sometimes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like there was that moment in the Clone Wars. Like, don't get me wrong, I really like Ahsoka as a character, but with a character like Maul, he's there. Maul is kind of schooling people like Obi-Wan Kenobi, who is way better than Ahsoka. He's way more powerful than Ahsoka. Ahsoka's talented, but Obi-Wan Kenobi's a Jedi Master, and Maul's holding his own with him. Like, my point is, I agree with you. Like, she should not be standing toe to toe with someone like Darth Maul or Darth Vader.
The man invented time travel just to save Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Like, this is where we think we're getting a bit ridiculous here, Dave, aren't we?
Yeah. I was really happy with Ahsoka's first death. We're tangenting here, but we'll talk about it for a minute. Like, yeah, I was quite happy with Ahsoka dying to Vader. I thought it was quite nice. It was quite a nice, like, wrap up of her arc, trying to sort of say she left Anakin and abandoned him, and then she tries to save him, but obviously fails. But you still respect the attempt.
Yep, but nope, she can't die. She's gotta have her own spin-off show. So we'll see how that goes. Speaking of which, our ratings. What would you rate it? Because I've put a poll out on the channel already, and 37% thought it was a 10 out of 10. 37% thought it was a 9 out of 10, and then 15% thought 6 or lower.
Oh, bloody hell. So I'm between an 8 and a 9. Again, like, for me, a 10's gotta do everything right, and there can be mistakes, but nothing should bug me. And in this episode, Din being useless and everyone else around him being super competent really bugged me. It annoyed me. It's like, you deserve to get taken apart by that droid person. Like, you've had 2 seasons and an appearance in another spin-off show now. You should be kicking ass by now, mate. So yeah, I think I would probably give it a 9 out of 10. I would give it that extra point because the atmosphere was perfect and it was really nicely paced, I think.
So you're saying better than the premiere?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. On reflection with the premiere, it's a bit, like you said in our first review, like a little bit all over the place, like bouncing from one place to the other.
I think this is about on par with last week's episode, because there were these weird problems for me. Again, I just can't get over how stupid Din sinking like a rock is. I thought something grabbed him, but no.
Yeah.
He just tripped and sank, and I was thinking, this guy is a pleb.
Yeah, for me, like, just my final point before we wrap it up, like, for me, in this season so far, 2 moments have kind of had the gravitas taken from them. That was one moment. There should have been some grandeur to Din sort of being in the water, I think. It should have been quite an epic moment. And same with the Din showing up, at the beginning of the first one when they're fighting the crocodile. Like I said in our first review, he should have just showed up, and there would have been a lot more tension. It would have been a lot more grand, I think, than this grand scale battle. But yeah, that's 2 now. That's strike 2 for robbing what could have been epic moments.
This episode played out perfectly for International Women's Day.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I did wonder, they planned that well, because direction was really good, and I was like, oh, it's female director, fair play. I'm looking forward to seeing if Bryce Dallas Howard comes back, because she tends to direct some of the better episodes too. So I'm looking forward to that. But I just thought, yeah, that's got to be a thing, right?
It's great, and I do like sort of the Mando represent and Book of Boba Fett, and even like the Kenobi show and Andor and stuff. I think the female representation is really good. It's well done. It's not we'll not mention a certain trilogy that doesn't exist, but the strong female characters in the TV shows so far have all been really grounded for me.
Yeah,
whereas,
I'd
in that trilogy that doesn't exist.
Which trilogy is that?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's my thought.
I'm still waiting for them to just scrap that sequel trilogy and just be like, yeah, we're just going to make it up as we go along from this Mando series now.
Yeah, it would be the smart move. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you have a good one. Please like and subscribe, and let us know your thoughts about the Mandalorian, if you have any. Cheers, guys.